You know when you're scrolling and you see that perfect, postcard perfect travel photo, have you ever stopped and wondered, what's actually happening just outside the frame? Well, it turns out a lot of people are, and it's kickstarting this huge shift in how we see the world. So yeah, let's dive into this new way of unfiltered travel. 57%. Just let that number hang there for a second. Because that single number, it signals a massive change in why we travel. And that 57% isn't about finding the cheapest flight or the most convenient hotel. Nope. According to a 2025 Arrival study, that's the majority of European travelers who are now saying that engaging, immersive experiences are their #1 priority, above everything else. And look, we're not just talking about one specific thing here. The demand is surging for everything from deep cultural events and wellness retreats to full-on adventure tourism. This whole movement is really being led by younger travelers, the 18 to 34 crowd, who are looking for ways to actually do stuff, not just stand there and look at it. What this really represents is a fundamental break from that old-school tourism model of just checking boxes off a list. This new wave is all about chasing the unscripted, the genuine, the raw. It's a total shift from being a passive tourist to an active participant. So you've got this massive shift in what people want. And whenever that happens, a new kind of storyteller tends to pop up, right? Someone who perfectly captures this raw travel spirit, the unfiltered vlogger. And maybe nobody embodies this more than the YouTuber who goes by bald and bankrupt. I mean, this quote from a review of his stuff, it just perfectly captures his, let's call it, extreme commitment to showing the world exactly as it is, no matter how messy. So who is this guy? Well, his real name is Benjamin Rich. He also writes under the name Arthur Chichester, and his mission is pretty simple, really. Go to the forgotten corners of the globe, especially post-Soviet countries, and just find out how real people actually live, way, way off the tourist trail. And his style? Oh man, it's the total opposite of some polished travel show. Forget the slick edits, forget the drone shots. He's using an iPhone. He speaks fluent Russian, which is key to breaking down those barriers. And he's all about finding real human connection, often over a little vodka, to find what he calls the real pulse of the nation. This whole approach gets at a key idea he calls personality-led content. Basically, people aren't just tuning in to see some forgotten village in Belarus. They're tuning in to see his journey, his reactions. The person has become just as important as the place itself. So how does he do it? You might think it's just random wandering, but not exactly. There's a real philosophy behind this raw style, a method that he's actually laid out for anyone to follow. Yeah, in his guide, The YouTube Blueprint, he pretty much just tears up the old rulebook and writes a new one for anyone who wants to capture the world in an authentic way. The core ideas are refreshingly simple. First, get rid of the expensive cameras. He says they just put up a wall between you and real people. Second, just be yourself. An audience can spot a fake a mile away. And third, and this one is huge, follow your honest passion. He says it doesn't matter if you're filming old Soviet bus stops or rare insects. If you're genuinely passionate about it, people will connect with that. And he really doesn't mince words. This quote from his book, it perfectly sums up his entire message. For him, authenticity isn't just a buzzword, it's everything. He argues the biggest thing holding most people back isn't a lack of gear or money. It's that little voice of doubt in your head, what he hilariously calls the inner weasel voice. His advice is blunt: ignore it and just go. Just start. Okay, this all sounds great. Grab your phone and go, right? But hang on, that brings up a really practical question. When you're heading to these incredibly remote, often challenging places, where do you even get your info? You can't just pick up a guidebook. Seriously, think about it. If you want to travel overland through the Democratic Republic of Congo or find your way around the Central African Republic, where do you even begin to look for logistics, for safety info, for what's actually happening on the ground right now? The answer lies in this kind of hidden, decentralized network of online communities. And these are not mainstream travel sites. We're talking about super niche forums like Caravanistan for anything on the Silk Road, Horizons Unlimited for driving across Africa, or the Every Passport Stamp Facebook group for people trying to visit the world's least known countries. These platforms have become the real modern-day guidebooks for this kind of adventure. They're these amazing ecosystems where travelers share super detailed trip reports, up-to-the-minute advice, and the kind of crucial info you will never, ever find in a book. All right, so let's tie this all together. What are we looking at here? We've got a clear shift in what travelers want, we've got a new type of creator meeting that demand, and we've got this whole digital underground that makes it all possible. What we're seeing is basically a perfect cultural storm. This huge demand for real, authentic travel experiences is directly fueling the rise of raw, unfiltered content. And that content inspires more people to seek out those experiences. It's a feedback loop. This whole shift creates a completely new paradigm for travel. When you put them side by side, the difference is stark. The goal isn't just sightseeing anymore, it's connection. The media isn't some polished documentary, it's a raw vlog. And the most valuable currency has changed from convenience to straight-up authenticity. So what's the big takeaway here? We're witnessing a total redefinition of what adventure even means. It's becoming way less about the pin on the map and way more about the unscripted story you find and the real connections you make along the way. In the end, it all comes back to this one simple but incredibly powerful idea from Benjamin Rich's book. The entire movement, from the travelers to the vloggers, is built on this single principle. You just have to begin. And that leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on. In a world that's desperate for the real deal, what does the future hold for the people and places that have always been unfiltered? What happens when the whole world starts looking for them?